So hello, thank you all for being here. My name is Ioustinos. I'm from Greece. And I'll start my story with a kind of random event, random happening that happened a few years ago in Athens. After a drunken night in Athens, I was walking back home and I stumbled upon a heroin addict. And he asked for some money and I refused to give him, but instead I decided to talk to him a little bit. And I asked him how he's doing and how he's coping with his problem and his addiction and whether the society is helping him or not. And we had a very nice and honest and open conversation. I was kind of strict at some points with him, but in the end we spent 15 minutes together talking to each other. In the end, he told me that he was quite happy and he much preferred the fact that I gave some time to him instead of giving some money and walking away. And that got me thinking how we really deal with social problems nowadays. And I think that many people kind of find it easy to give some money in order to buy out the time that they should put in dealing with small problems. Each one of us has something to do, and it's really easy to give money to go away with it, get away with it. And I honestly and personally, since I was a little kid, I thought that I want to grow up and I want to do something significant and I want to help the world. And I found myself after that conversation that I have been postponing this because I want to make money and I want to focus on my career in order to have more power to do more good and more impact in the future. And this is it kind of bothered me. It's actually not only it's selfish, actually, to feel that your time right now is more important to dedicate to yourself, but it's not sustainable, because postponing the solution of the problem on a daily basis is actually what makes it pile up. And it's actually what makes it need all that money and their effort in the future, whereas you can focus on a daily basis to solve small things. And NGOs and organizations are actually fighting this problem and trying to tackle it, but I think we should focus more on the individual. I think we should focus more on the fact why people, we should focus more on why people do not bother so much to solve problems. So let's see a problem with recycling. Every year, Western countries, Western civilization, throw away $150 billion worth of material every year. And this is, if you get a perspective, this is the amount of money that is needed to cover up all grocery bills in Netherlands for 3 years. And I don't have any stats on how many shoes and clothes we're piling up in our closets and we don't ever use them. But if you make a small calculation, you will be amazed on the value of clothes, shoes, and bags that you have and you never use. So why don't we really bother? Let's focus on the individual and see what's the problem. The problem is that we are easily demotivated to do something. It's very easy to think that an action is a drop in the ocean. It's very easy to think that my action is not going to make any difference. And this is not really true. Clay Shirky is a very respectable TED talker, and he's an author, and he's been talking about the cognitive surplus, which represents the ability of people in large groups to collaborate and solve real-world problems. And one prime example of that is Wikipedia. Wikipedia, the biggest knowledge database of humanity right now, is built entirely on free time, on people's free time that put the time voluntarily there. Another smaller scale example is a project that went on in Estonia a few years ago. Through proper motivation, more than half of the population of the country volunteered to clean all the forests of the country, and they managed to do that in one single day. So those two examples for me mean one thing, that the will is there, the quality in people is there, they want to do good, but they're lacking the motivation. They're lacking this extra boost that is needed to create a habit out of doing good, to be consistent in doing it. And in the end up, because we don't have this habit, it's very easy to claim that we don't have any free time to do it. It's better to focus on our own things. So my question is, what do we really do on our free time? We play games. We play Angry Birds and we play Candy Crush. And those two games alone, and I'm not going to talk about all the others, but those two games alone account for 1 billion minutes per day spent on an iPad or an iPhone or an Android, whatever, on playing games. This is the equivalent of the workforce of Norway. So imagine in Norway, nobody works, just they're playing a game. Well, obviously they don't because they're doing pretty well. But anyway, what's most important to me is how games are designed and what really happens and make people do this. They're following they're following the principles of habit forming, which means that they trigger some certain actions which are instantly rewarded in a way that make you feel that you want to do this again. Take the action and get rewarded again and again and get into this loop. And game designers have been focusing on all those ways of motivational theory in order to take simple actions like clicking or something else and turning it into a fun and more engaging experience. So my proposition is, why don't we take all this time that is spent on game and all the learnings from game design to build one social game for doing good? And the general idea, the principle is that through gamification and through a unified point system, people get rewarded every time they do something good, even if it is recycling, donating, taking the bus instead of driving the car, keeping your electricity bills low, donating your shoes. With every action you take, you participate into a game trying to reach a social status of how good you are, because this is what people need. They want to reach a social status and they want to have a consistent behavior. And in order to do that, we have to lay down all this game mechanic for the users. So we're going to have, you can have badges, you can have missions, you can have leaderboards and competitions between your friends or community per community, city per city. And what is important here is that people can have all their goals, their daily goals laid out. And they can understand what can be achieved through a community, through statistics, through whatever data they need to know what is happening. So serious fun is a thing, is a term nowadays, and it exists. And it represents that fun can be tied in more serious and more important objectives. And they can be tied in more meaningful actions and more meaningful things. And I mean, already corporations are using all those game mechanics and all those methods for their own benefits in order to achieve business goals or to achieve better employees' behavior. But we can use this in order to do good. And I would personally love to see that, because I'm not really consistent in my behavior in doing good. I want to do this because I want to see it happening. And the reason is, I feel that my generation has all the education and the awareness, and they know the problem. We know the problems, and we know we have to do something about it, but we also have very low attention span. So currently there's apps and games fighting for our attention. And the best application wins. The application that is more designed better to hook us up wins, like Instagram or Facebook. They are built in order to hook us up and take our attention. So I think it's about time that all these initiatives for doing good, social and environmental good, should be designed more carefully, should be designed in a way that they can mimic how games are built. Because games are built with a focus on the psychology of what people need. They're built to be effective, and they're built to be very fun. Thank you very much.